Hello, my beautiful Christian widow sisters. Welcome back. We are doing a 4-part series on dating, remarriage, and family blending for Christian widows. Last week, part 1 was the blog only, not here on YouTube, so I will drop a link to it. There's a lot of wonderful resources. I poured out my heart into that blog, so I encourage you to go check it out. We asked the question, am I ready? Am I ready to date? How do I know if I'm ready to date? What does that look like? Because I argued it wasn't about a timeline or a formula or everyone else's opinion or even where we were in fear and trepidation in our own heart. The readiness question comes down to discernment from the Holy Spirit and who is leading us in that process. And there were some wonderful takeaways. So again, check out part 1. This week, we are talking about part 2, which is another really important question as we are open to another romantic relationship. And it is, how do I navigate dating, remarriage, and blending as a Christian widow in a way that honors God, protects my heart, and follows His leading? And this is where convictions are really important and come into play. Convictions are going to give us a target to hit so that we have something we're aiming for, something that's guiding us that is good and right, and that we're ultimately going to feel really good about and have peace with in the end. Because there can be a lot of problems when grief meets romance without direction. A lot of widows come into this realm of another relationship with their hearts already swirling from grief. The loneliness can be intense. The desire for companionship is totally understandable. And attention from a new person can feel exciting and comforting and hopeful. And it's really easy to get swept up in it at a vulnerable time. And when we have not prayerfully considered our convictions and our own desires and our own boundaries in the midst of this potential for another relationship and what that might look like, that vulnerability can become really confusing, and it can even add more pain to our already broken heart at a really hard time if we don't walk with wisdom. Because without intentionality, there can be some really big problems, like the loneliness driving us to connect with another person. We can become attached to them before really evaluating their character or having any guidelines for what we're looking for. We can make decisions from survival instead of from wisdom. We can ignore red flags and behaviors that normally we wouldn't tolerate. Without intending to, we can create problems for our children if we have them who are grieving. We can find ourselves in relationships that are not God's best. And we can find ourselves in an emotional or physical situation that actually conflicts with our values. And as much as it's difficult to hear when that happens, our hearts often feel the consequences. It is really hard to be brokenhearted by a first relationship attempt after widowhood. Our hearts are already so tender. We may feel convicted because we're compromising our beliefs, or we may not have any peace because something in the relationship isn't right. Sister, we don't want to go there, and we don't have to. And I want to argue that love after loss does not have to be scary or confusing or crazy making. Our convictions can bring a lot of clarity and hope to us because the Holy Spirit isn't absent in this area of dating and remarriage and blending. He is part of all of it. And in fact, He wants to guide you through it to God's best for you. So this is actually a really important season of healing and growth and setting intentions of where it is you want to go from here. I often encourage widows to pray for and seek and partner with God for His best because it is ultimately going to be most fulfilling. The best that we could come up with and try to do on our own, we know doesn't ultimately satisfy. He knows the desires of our hearts. He created us, and what He has that is purposeful and embodies true love and holiness and the gifts that He has is going to be what satisfies us the most. So we really want His best, and He is happy to give that to us. It's a partnership that we walk with Him through. And convictions can be a guiding light on that road. So we're moving forward with intention instead of being reactionary. So what kind of convictions are we talking about? Well, I have 4 of them I would encourage you to consider. Let's dig in. Number 1, your future partner. What does godly character look like to you in a man? What is it that you really desire about him, his integrity, and different areas of his life? And here are some questions that you can pray through. What kind of man do I believe would lead and love and serve well? What season of life would he be in that would be a healthy fit for me and possibly my family based on what season I'm in? How important are his financial habits and stewardship to me? And what are some possibilities of what that might look like? Not just, is he loaded and rich? How does he treat other people? How would he interact with my children? What qualities would make him a safe father figure if kids are involved? And are there character issues, patterns of sin, or certain behaviors that I'm not willing to tolerate and don't want to get involved with? Those are honest and really important questions. Now, let me be clear. No one is perfect, but clarity helps you recognize God's best more easily, and it helps you not become attached to what isn't. You can hold out for God's best without compromise. Number 2, purity. Let's talk about it. Okay, honestly, widows don't even talk about this area with one another much, but it matters a whole lot. What are your convictions regarding emotional and physical boundaries? And I'm going to be really clear with you. As a woman of faith, I personally believe the Bible is clear about keeping the marriage bed pure. And that didn't just mean your first marriage. It means any subsequent marriage. And so waiting for marriage to have sex is something that's really important, God honoring, and even statistically shown that it increases sexual satisfaction and lowers rates of divorce after marriage to not cohabitate and have intimacy with a partner before marriage. But here's some questions for you to consider. Do you believe in celibacy before marriage? What practical boundaries would help you honor that conviction? And realistically, are you prepared to maintain those boundaries? How would I stop or prevent myself from being in situations where I'm making compromise more likely? And sister, these aren't questions of shame. They're just questions of wisdom. There is so much grace, and if you've messed up, grace is so much greater. His love is deeper still, and His mercy is more. But I encourage you to get back on the path of God's best, because it will bless you and your future husband. I promise you that. Because if you have convictions you're not really willing to set practical boundaries with, you are probably going to be set up to struggle instead of being set up for success. Number 3. Circumstances. Many widows discover that practical realities become a major factor in their relationship. Have you sought the Lord regarding circumstances around your relationship? Things like timeframes, the needs of your children, living arrangements, geographic locations, blending families, parenting philosophies, financial expectations. Now, you may not have every answer, and that's okay, but these are some important things to consider, because that clarity with the Lord will help you before you get into certain situations or when decision-making time comes. And number 4, your grief. This may be one of the most important areas of all, because your husband is still part of your story, but this can be a challenging area, both for widows and the particular partner that they marry. Question isn't about whether you love him or not. It's how he will fit into this future relationship, how your memories of him and what that means to you fits into a future relationship. How are you feeling about your grief? What traditions do you hold in his memory? What connections are important for you to maintain? What are you hoping a future partner will understand about your grief? And how are you hoping he may be able to come alongside you? Where am I flexible, and where do I have strong convictions? Because I'm going to tell you, not all people are the same. And one thing I've learned is that it can't just be all about me and my grief. When you bring another person in, you have to have respect and consideration for their heart, their ideas, values, and opinions as a human. If you're going to have a relationship, those things have to fit together. And realistically, a person doesn't come into your life in any relationship, in any area, and fit and support and love you absolutely perfectly. They may have their own struggles related to that. So what are you willing to flex on? What could that look like? And what is important important for you to hold as you navigate having a relationship with another person, coming intimately into your own journey of grief? How does your past and your future coexist in a healthy way? How are you able to maintain eternal love and yet honor the current earthly husband that you would have? These are real questions and real areas of struggle for a lot of widows. Now remember again, there's no such thing as perfection. Perfect isn't even the goal. The purpose of convictions isn't to create an impossible checklist. It is to get some clarity on how God is leading and guiding you and what is really important to you, to know what you're aiming for, to have a target instead of wandering or being lost or becoming attached and moving forward before these things have been thought through. You want to walk forward with confidence that your relationship is being led and guided with peace and wisdom from the Holy Spirit. So, sister, your convictions are important because one of the best gifts you can give yourself in future romantic relationships and possible relationships is clarity. Not certainty and not guarantees, but clarity. Because when you can connect with your convictions and the Holy Spirit's leading, you're a lot less likely to lose yourself in a time where you're already trying to rediscover who you are. You become better equipped to recognize red flags, honor your values, protect your children, and pursue relationships that align with God's best in your life. And perhaps most importantly, your focus remains true on the best thing, which is not just finding a relationship, but following Jesus, because when He leads, peace will be there. If this is an area you're navigating about dating, remarriage, blending, who you are in your identity, how to navigate this season with purity, coaching is an option for me to come alongside and help guide you, hold you accountable, and get you to your goals for all of these things. I would love to connect with you. You can find more at hopespeaker.com/coaching. I'll link that below as well. And in next week, part 3, we will be diving more into our identity and who we are now and how that relates to dating and remarriage and blending in widowhood. Sister, I love you. God's grace to you. I am here with you and for you. We'll talk soon.